Shabbat Shalom, my friends. Wow, there is a lot happening today. First of all, this Shabbat, we began reading the second book of the Torah, the book of Exodus. So we start with chapter 1, verse 1. The Hebrew name for the book is Shmot, coming from Shem, the plural, names. Because the text actually begins, Ve'ela Shmot B'nai Israel, and these are the names of the sons of Israel who came down to Egypt. So that's one thing going on. Next, all around us, an old year is ending and a new year is preparing to take its place in human history. What stories will the year 2019 carry into our future? We can only hope and pray for the best. And finally, even as the days are just ever so slowly lengthening, the realities of winter are staring us right in the face. There is wonder all around us, an exquisite beauty, totally unlike the beauties of spring or summer or fall. And there is also a sobering mixture of new dangers, new challenges, and new ways to have fun. Okay, so let's get started with our work. So we're beginning a new era in ancient Egypt. Vayakam melech hadash al Mitzrayim asher lo yada et Yosef. A new king arose over Egypt who did not know Joseph. And on we go. Just the other day, I came upon my 12-year-old granddaughter, Beth, reading one of the Harry Potter volumes. She always has a book in her hand, so there's nothing really surprising here, except that Beth has already read this particular volume several times over. Being a meddlesome Saba, I asked her why her choice this week was to go back to a story of the boy wizard, a story that she had already consumed. Beth gave me that kind of withering look reserved for those who are budding teenagers and said, Saba, sometimes I like to visit old friends. It's just so comfortable. There are so many old friends in our Sedra, in stories that we have read over and over again. Miriam, Aaron, and Moses, the sibling superheroes. Pharaoh and Pharaoh's daughter, trouble in the palace. The midwives deceiving Pharaoh. The taskmasters maiming the Hebrews. Jethro, that foreign priest who is Moses' father-in-law, providing an administrative structure to the fleeing slaves. Yep, they're all here playing their roles in a very familiar sacred drama. But be careful. If our reading becomes too comfortable, too mindless, then we're going to completely miss some truly significant encounters. Our Sedra is filled with encounters. Moses and Pharaoh, Miriam and Pharaoh's daughter, Pharaoh and the midwives. Remember God and Moses at the burning bush. Each account is a crossroads. Each encounter is a choice. Each encounter possesses its own set of causes and of consequences. For Martin Buber and for Emmanuel Levinas and for Franz Rosenzweig, all of life is an array of encounters. Buber and Levinas especially taught that we can only become full human persons when we enter into relationships with another person, a true encounter. When a person encounters another person in total immediacy, he or she may even experience a brief glimpse of God. So, many folks are looking for a glimpse of God through their encounters in our Sedra, but not everyone succeeds. Miriam encountered the daughter of Pharaoh, a despised slave woman standing in the presence of royalty. Miriam offered Pharaoh's daughter, Moses' actual mother, Yocheved, to serve as his nurse and nanny. In that encounter, Miriam was both audacious and desperate. Pharaoh's daughter was yearning for a child and fully aware that she was in no position to rear a child by herself. Audacity met yearning in that encounter, and the future of Moses was assured. Was there also a glimpse of God there? Moses encountered God at the burning bush. Moses was no longer the pampered child living in Pharaoh's court. He had been running for his life before he had found refuge in Midian. He had tried to put his people's suffering out of his mind. But then there was this bush, a bush that somehow was burning but not consumed. Moses heard the voice of God from out of that bush telling him that the time had come for Moses to resume the life for which he was destined. An encounter with God that threw Moses' life upside down. Was God really in that bush? The backstory of the wives is not known to us. We don't actually even know if they were Hebrews. But they encountered Hebrew women who were giving birth. They encountered the miracle of new life with each healthy birth when they held a new baby up in the air and then handed it to its mother. Couldn't we say that, in fact, this was an encounter that led to a glimpse of God? Moses and Aaron stood before the God King Pharaoh. Moses knew the ruler of Egypt quite intimately. Moses had been raised in Pharaoh's house as a kind of grandson. And Pharaoh knew Moses quite well indeed. And he knew why Moses had fled Egypt. Now, Moses had betrayed Pharaoh and reclaimed his Hebrew identity, and therefore Moses clearly did not glimpse God when he looked into Pharaoh's eyes. And I must assure you, Pharaoh did not glimpse God when he stared down at his renegade, almost grandson. So there are many meanings at our Sedra, but not that many true encounters. Miriam and Pharaoh's daughter both emerged with new strength from that moment in which they understood how they could meet each other's needs. They met each other. Pharaoh saw only menial servants when he asked the midwives to kill all of the Hebrew babies born to the Israelites, but these two midwives knew that God was to be found in a baby's smile. They had encountered God's presence many times, but the presence of Pharaoh, in that presence, they felt nothing. So they comfortably lied to him, turned their backs on him, and walked away. There was no real encounter. And there was no glimpse of God. Moses stands before Pharaoh, demands the freeing of the Hebrew slaves. Pharaoh was worshipped as a god. Everything that Egypt held belonged to Pharaoh. And now this alien, this descendant of shepherds, this ungrateful wretch who had killed an Egyptian, a person such as this, doesn't even deserve to live, let alone to have me respond to his demands. So, another meeting, an angry rejection. Not the kind of encounter likely to provide a glimpse of God. Pirkei Avot teaches us, Hafoch bo v'hafoch bo kikule bo. Return to the text over and over again, because everything will be found within it. Old friends spinning familiar tales, tales of danger, tales of love, but every once in a while, tales of true encounters. Encounters that allowed a glimpse of God, and thus encounters that continue to shape our understanding of the world thousands of years later. We are visiting with old friends these days. And these old friends still have worlds of understanding to open up before us. The best of modern philosophers would tell us that we only become full persons when we enter into relationships, true encounters with another person. So we pray. May we discover such relationships in our own lives. May those relationships yield to true encounters in the Buberian sense. And may those encounters create settings in which we can glimpse a little bit of God. Okay, that's it. Have a wonderful secular New Year. Sylvester, if you're in Israel, a wonderful Shabbat and a wonderful week. And please, as a very important New Year's resolution, hit share so that others might join us. Shabbat Shalom, my friends.